So, first topic, we're going to talk about My Hero Academia and the biggest, fattest spoiler alert, baby. We're going to be spoiling shit. Oh my god. Excuse me. Oh my god. Going into it. I love this fucking show. I fucking stan it. I've been watching it for years, ever since it first came out years ago. I love it. I love this fucking show. And I'm not even like all that into shonen like fucking animes these days. Like I used to really fuck with them hard, but now I'm like, eh. But nah, bro. This hit different, y'all. Like, oh my god. Let's go into the first episode. So the paranormal liberation front arc. I don't know a lot about it personally. I actually tried to get into the manga because I was like so curious how this arc goes, and I the manga translating to the anime is a little bit haphazard. Like it's a little jumbled around. Different events that have happened in the anime happened at different points in time in the manga. So as a result, it's really hard to jump into the manga like this deep into the anime. You might as well just like start over, and I'm not doing that shit. So as a result, I don't know anything about the paranormal liberation other than one tiny spoiler that I got that hasn't been revealed yet, so I'm not going to say it. But and that was a spoiler I got because I was just like looking up a character I thought was sexy, and like at the top of the wiki page, it was like a fat ass spoiler, and I was like, oh my god, like no warning, come on. So heads up, folks, like if you love the show, don't be looking up characters because the manga is very much farther ahead of the anime, and you probably gonna get spoiled, so just don't do it. But people tell me that the paranormal liberation front arc is like the best arc in the show in the manga. So I'm pretty hype about it. Like I kind of trust people's judgment here. Like the show has already been really fucking good. Like some just peak tier content we've seen in that show. So the fact that it's like people are saying like, "Oh man, you ain't seen nothing yet." Like that's nutty. I'm excited. So we picked up where we left off, like literally where we left off, the very final moment of season 5, where we see the Paranormal Liberation Front like having their like little meeting right after they inducted Shigaraki as their leader, and yeah, Hawks is still undercover. Bless him. They're either idiots or he's just really good at his job. I think it's the latter because he's just they just don't suspect a thing. He's getting shadowed, by the way, but they don't trust him fully because he's shadowed by Twice. And if you recall, Twice is the villain that is able to like multiply himself as much as he wants, and he's also like super traumatized in the head. From life and stuff, so he's like not very the most stable guy, but they enlist him to watch Hawks, and unfortunately Twice is actually kind of a good person, and he's only a villain because like he can't find his tribe outside of villainy. Like he finally has friends when he became a villain, but he's actually like a really good guy. He actually doesn't really believe in Stain's beliefs. Like he just wants some fucking friends. So it's really sad. It's really sad that he's a villain because like I mean the villains are bad and you have to fight them. And his poor good-natured heart made it so that Hawks could play him like a little fiddle, which was really heartbreaking. And like they're also being monitored by one of Redistro's men, but I mean that guy, I don't know, he must be really bad at his job because like I don't know, he very clearly suspected Hawks, but he just like kept arm's length. He would only like bug his conversations and that's it, just letting him do whatever he wants. I don't know. If it were me and I knew that this number two hero is coming over here to us villains telling me that he wants to like, oh man, I'm actually on your guys' side, I'm a double agent, I don't believe that for a second. Like they really fucking trusted him real fucking fast. That was a little weird. I like the opening credits. The opening credits has like a manga comic booky feel with like the little onomatopoeia words and then the explosions and boom and stuff. I always love anime openings because they always foreshadow what's to come. And there's some scenes in that opening number that show. I think this very first arc of the season is going to probably be pretty dark. For these first 3 episodes seem pretty triumphant for the heroes, but I think that Shigaraki is going to wake up. And when he wakes up, bad things are going to happen. So let's move on. we're going to see more Nobus. That was another thing that happened in the OP, and we actually do see them in these episodes. If you don't recall, the Nobus are like the super powered, just walking corpses that have no free will, but they're super, super powered, and they're not afraid of death, and they're damn near indestructible. Like even like All Might had a hard ass time like killing one of them. So and then I didn't even realize the doctor's name was Garaki. Like I learned his name for the first time. But I guess that's important. The doctor is the guy that made the Nobus, and he's also the guy that's like kind of supercharging Shigaraki right now. So Shigaraki at the end of the last arc basically unlocked a new strength in his quirk, where now instead of just destroying things he touches, he can destroy things that he touches. So if I'm standing on the same floor as him and he tries to like touch the floor and disintegrate it, I get disintegrated too. So that's like a new power that he unlocked. And now Garaki's trying to like pump him with more quirk juice so he can just become like pretty much the second coming of All for One. That's kind of how everybody sees him, as the second coming of All for One, which is kind of a big deal, especially considering All for One like raised Shigaraki. So like there's like some shoes to fill there. There's some familial obligation there, pseudo familial. Um, so we open the episode, and Hawks has communicated back with the heroes that the Paranormal Liberation Front plans on attacking Japan, and they want to do a coordinated attack on every major city in the country to eliminate the heroes and just kind of plunge the Japan and by extension the world into chaos by collapsing the hero system. So that's the Paranormal Liberation Front's plan, and Hawks sent that to Endeavor. As a result, Endeavor and all of the fucking heroes and all of the students of UA all are banding together in a joint attack. So they're in two teams. One team is going to attack the Paranormal Liberation Front base, and then at the same exact time, the other team is going to attack the hospital that Garaki's at, where he's storing his Nobus. So we see so many here, and I mean honestly, like My Hero Academia just does this where they'll just put like 50, 100 heroes on the screen, and it is just overwhelming. Like I get super emotional. I'm like, whoa, because you know every single one. They're not just like doing filler. You know how some anime when they put a crowd of people, they just put like faceless crowd of people. You don't really know who they are. Every single hero has a quirk and a fucking name and a look to them. And you look at that screenshot, there is not a single hero in there that looks like the other hero. And it's so cool. And I paused it so I could just like pick out, oh, who do I know in here? Oh, I know them. I know them. Oh, I don't know them. Oh, I went through with their quirk because they look cool. Like it's such a fucking cool feeling. And this show is really good about doing that sort of thing. And that's funny. It's only half their forces. That's what they like I said, they split them in half. The screenshot I saw, that was only half of the heroes. There were like fucking 500 heroes in there. That's crazy. That means they have like every hero in Japan that's doing this, which I'm gonna predict now is probably not a very good thing. Here's the thing: they launched this attack on the Paranormal Liberation Front. At first, in episode 1 here, I was convinced this was a trap. I was convinced because they got every hero. That was a bad idea. They got every hero to do this thing, meaning there's no heroes to protect anybody. And they kind of hinted at that a little bit, but we only saw a little tiny scene of it. We don't really know where it's going. And also Mirko is an ass, sorry, she's not an ass. She's a badass. She's not an ass. She's a badass. Mirko, I call her Mirko, but it's because she murks bitches. Nah, Mirko is a rabbit lady. That her quirk is that she has the legs of a rabbit, so she can like jump and run and very far and stuff and do some pretty crazy shit. We actually see a fight scene with her, and she's a fucking class S tier superhero, like 100% stacks up with like Endeavor and the like. Going on to episode 2, I was a little bit irritated that every single episode has like a minute long recap. I'm like, I mean, we're all fans of the show. We do not need a whole recap giving all of the context that we need for the show. We have the context. So I'm just gonna start skipping them shits because it's like a minute of Deku just like fucking narrating. And I'm like, come on, Deku, we just saw the episode. Or if we didn't see it, we just saw it last week. Like, I don't understand why we need to do this. I love Aizawa and Endeavor's banter. Basically, they storm the hospital, and Aizawa is with Endeavor, and they capture Garaki, and Aizawa uses his quirk on Garaki, which his quirk is Erasure, where he can cancel out any quirk. And it made it so that like Aizawa, or it made it so Garaki couldn't like get away or something. And then Aizawa's just like, or no, Endeavor's just like, oh man, that's a useful quirk. You know, the offer's still open to be my sidekick. And then Aizawa's just like, oh man, I have to go. I'm sorry, but I have to be a teacher to my good for nothing students. He literally said that. And I was just like, I really like that banter. I really want like a spin-off between Aizawa and fucking Endeavor, because those are such different like personalities. Aizawa is just like this like laid back, lazy-eyed dude, and Endeavor's like this like super alpha male, like, oh man, I'm in charge kind of dude. So I feel like that dynamic would like be awesome. Alas, in another universe, Gozi, in another universe. I love how Bakugo is continuing to be Bakugo. Like he's like always every task he's given is just so beneath him all the time. He's just like, oh my gosh, why do I have to assist in evacuating civilians? God damn it, put me on the front line, bitches. I'm amazing. And I'm like, and he's just and he goes there. He's got like this growly way of talking. I'm like, I love Bakugo. We all love Bakugo, and he's just so unapologetically himself. I love it. Um, Mocha was one of the little Nobus. So we start saying the Nobus, and Mirko has seen the real Garaki, because apparently the Garaki that they used erasure on was actually like a twice clone, a clone that twice made. So Mirko finds the real one and chases him and chases him into his Nobu laboratory, where we find that he has like some like cute little tiny Nobus. Like there's different classes of Nobus, and he's got like some like cute little anime ones. And one was named like Johnny, and Johnny's quirk was to be able to teleport. And Mirko like murked him. Mirko killed the fuck out of Johnny. He's like, Johnny, no! It was really funny. It was really funny. He was so devastated. And then Mocha, whose quirk is the ability to make twice clones. So Mirko was about to fucking kick Garaki's ass, and little Mirko comes and tries to save him. And I know that Mirko and Garaki, they're the villains, but I just thought this moment was so cute, because it was like Mirko is like going to go save her little daddy, and like and then she gets hurt. The little Mocha goes and tries to save Garaki and gets hurt, and then tries to make like another twice clone, but it's all melty and bad because she's dying. And it was so pathetic and pitiful and adorable, and I was like, damn. So rip Mocha, she was the real one. She was the real one. So another thing we got introduced to in this episode were the high-ends. So we've actually, I don't know if they've mentioned this ahead of time. I don't think they have, but high-ends are a new form of Nobu, where I know we had those big, so there's like low class Nobus that are like white, their skin is white, and they're super weak and you can kill them easily. Then there's the mid tier Nobus whose skin is gray. They're like a lot stronger than the white ones, but you can still kind of kill them pretty easy. And then you have the black Nobus, the big ones. Those are the high tier ones, and that's the one that All Might fought back in, I think, like season 2. And those are the ones that can regenerate. They have like the best quirks and shit. And then there's another tier we got introduced to called the high-ends. The high-ends are have the best of the best quirks, and they're sentient. They can make decisions. Remember, most Nobus have no free will. They can only do what they're told to. These Nobus are their free will is bent. They don't have free will per se, but they can make decisions. If they're told to do something, they're gonna do it. But they can make like strategic decisions about it. And they can work together as a team too. So that's very notable. Although they seem still pretty I don't know, it's pretty tissue papery. I feel like Mirko murked one of them a little too easily for my taste. Considering they're Nobus, and All Might himself had trouble with one of them, I was like, damn, I don't know why these Nobus are either really weak, or I don't know, or the power dynamics, the power levels in this show are really inconsistent. I don't know, but I like to think that the Nobus are just weaker than we all like originally thought they were. There was a moment where Mirko was fighting the Nobus, and they kicked the shit out of her, or no, they kick her into a wall, but she actually survives the kick because she uses her legs to like absorb the impact or I think cancel out the impact, but it still kind of fucks her up a little bit, and she bleeds on her face, and she's such a badass. She goes, that was nothing. And then she like licks the fucking blood off of her lip. I have a lady crush on Mirko. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I have a lady crush on her, man. Oh geez, I didn't before. I kind of did because they kind of introduced her like back in season 4-ish. And I was like, "Ooh, damn, who's Mirko?" Not to mention she's black. Holla, she's black. So I mean, I'm already a fan of that. But I don't know. This episode, just watching her kick their asses and like fight these guys, I'm like, do I have a? Let me check my loins right now. Do I have a lady crush? I do. I do. Um, the let's see what else. Oh yeah, there was a Nobu that she was fighting that looked like it had like, and it sucks because she actually killed this Nobu, but his quirk looked a lot like the Hammer Titan on Attack on Titan, where he can like create weapons and like armor out of his bones or something like that. That was really cool, but she killed him fast as hell. So I mean, oh, and then the last moment in the fucking episode where the other teams begins the strike on the Paranormal Liberation Front's stronghold, and Kaminari and Tokoyami are in the front lines, and they're UA students. They're really not supposed to. The UA students are actually supposed to be in the reserves, but their perk specifically, and also as well as two other students from Class 1B, were particularly helpful due to their like area of attack, every area of effect attacks, and stealth and whatnot. So they're in the front lines and they're going and fighting with everybody else. So our heroes are running up to the compound. Kaminari's scared as hell because remember, Kaminari's a fucking coward. He's totally scared. He's so fucking scared all the time. And he's like, "Why the fuck am I here? I hate this." And then somebody gives him a pep talk. I forget who it was. I think it might have been Miss Midnight, basically saying, no, you know who it was? It was Tokiyami. It was Tokiyami that gave him a pep talk. He's just like, "Hey man, when we did the school festival a couple seasons ago, and we played guitars, and you played guitars for Jiro, which Kaminari likes Jiro. He has a crush on her. Like, man, I realized something. You're a really, really awesome guy, and not just a guy in general, but also an awesome hero." And so for some reason, that little pep talk like kind of gave Kaminari the confidence he needed, to kind of like nut up, especially considering the very first villain that comes out to try to fight them, he takes like a taser and he can he can like absorb a whole bunch of electricity and throw it at people in a huge area of effect attack. And that villain was just like, "Hey, you guys are fucked, I'm gonna kill you." And then Kaminari has this like fucking badass moment, and you know it's badass because the music changed. You know it's badass because the music went from like kind of silence to like super triumphant music, and he's fucking running past everybody, and he puts his little fingy up and he sucks up all the electricity, and the villain's just like, "Huh, what's going on? Where's my electricity?" And Kaminari's just like, "Yeah, bitch, I'm your antithesis." I thought that moment was so cute, and I love, like, honestly, it made me. I think I actually did cry. I think I shed a tear. It made me tear up a little bit because I like you said, the biggest, like, this little tangent, the biggest like appeal on this show is that you're following these students. Like at the beginning of the show, it's just like a group of like 20 students, and it's overwhelming. There's too many students, there's too many personalities. You don't really know anybody or care about anybody. And now 5, 6 seasons in, we have been following every single one of these students for such a long time, and they've all been growing. And their growth is like noticeable, and it's building, it's compounding. They develop, every single one develops. So I shed a tear a little bit because I'm just like, that's growth. That's growth right there. Growth. So honestly, I think it actually did make me shed a tear. Let's move on to episode 3. Again, with the recaps though, like I think that's gonna be like an every episode thing, and I'm just gonna have to fucking suck it up. It seems interesting to me that it seems like every single quirk in this universe has a counter quirk. Like if there's a quirk that seems OP, somebody in the world has the quirk that's the opposite that will counter it. And this is the case in point with this electricity guy, because that's like, without Kaminari there, that's a really good fucking quirk. You can like instantly electrocute anybody within like what, like a 10-meter radius. Like that's fucking a pretty big deal. But Kaminari's sitting here, he's literally the direct opposite. He can absorb electricity, and I think he can also redirect it too. But I mean, it's interesting to me. It seems like every single quirk in this universe has a counter. But yeah, I'm actually really surprised this wasn't a trap. I don't know, the way they were building it up with like all of the fucking heroes coming together, as well, and specifically every single hero coming together and presumably leaving the rest of Japan undefended, really fucking felt like a trap. But apparently it wasn't, because now we see in the compound that they're exploding into, they're surprised as hell. They're like, oh hell no, the fucking heroes are here. What the hell? How the fuck the heroes get here? Like they were all surprised. They were all surprised. So I was pretty shocked that this wasn't a trap. I'm also realizing I never knew what Miss Midnight's quirk was. Like she's been like in every single season. She's one of the teachers at UA, and like I mean she's been around, but I feel I just realized watching this episode I've never seen her use her quirk until now. Her quirk is secreting like fairy dust out of her body wherever whatever orifice it's coming from. I didn't pay attention. But she secretes stuff out of her body that like puts people to sleep. She's Jigglypuff. She's Jigglypuff. So I found that interesting. I like now I'm wondering like how many other heroes I really haven't seen use their power at all. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe I don't know. Maybe she might have been an anomaly, but that was pretty interesting. I also love how the Shroom Girl was useful. Like I was pretty shocked that they put her on the front line because like I don't know, she seems like very much a joke character in the show, kind of like Minetta, which I mean, even Minetta has had useful moments, so I don't know. But I mean, her ability to just make mushrooms, like appear out of nowhere was actually useful, and I'm like, okay, that's really cute. I'm glad they made her useful because that's kind of a stupid power. They made pretty quick work. The heroes made pretty quick work of that building. Like they really kind of like they were just like storming in, like straight up killing them. By the way, by the way, I should say this is very gory so far this season. I mean, there's been blood in the show, and I mean broken limbs and stuff, but like not gore. Like this is like exploding brains and stabbing people through the heart and shit, and like well, okay, not the heart, but hit the lungs and shit. I'm like, ooh, like this is pretty fucking like gory for My Hero Academia standards. I'm not, I don't know. I'm no stranger to gore, as you guys know by now. But I just found that kind of interesting. But the heroes made quick work of them, man. They were just like fucking dropping like flies, all of them. And then also Tokoyami had his little time to shine with Fat Gum and Sun Eater. I love Fat Gum and Sun Eater's like dynamic. Like it's like Sun Eater is like Fat Gum's like sun, and I just love Fat Gum. Like that whole like episode arc in season 4. I like loved that shit. I loved that shit, man. And Tokiyami goes in and he actually has an interaction with Redistro, which gives him this was pretty puzzling to me. Basically, I guess it wasn't even technically him, it was his shadow, the shadow bird that's attached to him, went ahead into the compound, deeper into the compound, and had an interaction with Redistro. And Tokiyami's bird like was kind of like shook about it. He said, "Hey man, Tokiyami man, there's something bad down there." Or he might have been talking about Gigantomachia, the really big guy. And even that's like a little bit of foreshadowing. Like they said that the really big guy is like dormant right now. He's just like sitting there, like kind of unconscious. And the only thing that's going to wake him up is his quote master saying or telling him to give it an order. And his master right now is Shigaraki. So I think that was some pretty hefty foreshadowing that there's going to be some real bad shit happening with Gigantomachia in this season. So lots of foreshadowing in these episodes. I'm pretty impressed with like the storytelling here. Also, it was funny as they had to retreat because they had successfully infiltrated the compound and captured everybody. They were called somewhere else, they being Fat Gum and Tokiyami. And let me tell you how they retreated. Fat Gum said, "Quick, get into my stomach." And then Tokiyami's just like, "What?" And then we switch to I took a picture of this because it was so funny. He's tucked into Fat Gum's belly fat like a damn Joey and a mama kangaroo, like a pouch. Like he's in his belly fat and you see his little head sticking out with his little hands. Like he's a damn Joey in Fat Gum's a mama kangaroo. I thought that was hilarious. I took a picture of that shit. I need to put that shit on fucking Twitter. That shit was funny as hell. So moving on, we see the perspective from Hawks. So Hawks was previously hanging out with Twice, pretty much like stalling him and awaiting for the attack to begin because he knew the attack was going to happen that day. As soon as the attack happens, he immediately attacks Twice and pins him down. And poor Twice, like I said, he's a really good person. He feels so betrayed. and he feels so sad because he feels like it's his fault for letting a traitor inside because he vouched for Hawks, and he did. He vouched for Hawks. They had multiple moments where Twice was just like, "You're a good guy. I'm glad you're my friend." Like he's a nice person, and you see Twice laying down on the floor here like, "I did it again. Oh my gosh, I got duped again, and I let a bad person in here, and I got us all in danger, and now he's all sad." And I'm like, "Oh, Twice, no." Um, so, but right, and but Hawks is trying to give Twice an opportunity to repent, like be like, "Hey, I'll give you a second chance. Like you just need to surrender yourself to the cops, and you can start over." But Twice doesn't do that. He gets ready to attack. Unfortunately, Twice is super weakened because like Hawks like stabbed him like fucking 150 times with like feathers. And right as Hawks is about to kill Twice, Dobby walks in. Sexy, sexy Dobby. I love Dobby so much. I want to cosplay as Dobby at Comic-Con. Dobby comes in and attacks Hawks, burns up all his feathers, but Hawks is still super like nimble. Like they pretty much engage into kind of a ranged fight. But Hawks is very clever and he's very fast and he gets away. And then the last thing we see is Twice is like trying to get away and try to help everybody. And we know, and Hawks is basically convinced that if Twice can get down there and make copies of himself, we lost because he can literally like just make a million copies of himself and overwhelm everybody with numbers. So it's Hawks's mission to stop him, either convince him to join the other side or you got to stop him permanently. And unfortunately, he did. Unfortunately, Hawks did kill Twice. That was the last thing we see. I don't know what happened to Hawks though, because right as he did it, Dobby shot fire out of the door, and I don't know if Hawks is alive right now. Another interesting thing, Dobby calls Hawks by his real name. And it was like a weird moment because he says his real name and Hawks like looks at him like, "What the hell? You know my real name?" It's mystery. We don't know anything else. It's just like another detail that's another piece of the onion skin that just got peeled back, but we don't know. Like Dobby is like the most mysterious fucking character in the show right now. His background, I only know one spoiler about him, and it's a pretty big one, but I have no other context on whatever else it is. Like, why the fuck does he know Hawks' name? Why didn't Hawks know he knew his name? Who the fuck knows? So that's kind of the last thing we see. Hilariously, right before Twice dies, he made a copy of himself to go kill a hero that's trying to capture Toga, and that other guy whose name I always forget. And then he and Toga have like a really touching moment, because he really admires and likes Toga, and she showed kindness to him. So he really wanted to just protect her, and that was his last act as being alive, was to protect his friend. And that's it. That's what we saw. So the verdict, what a fucking start. That's a fucking explosive start, especially considering last season, the whole first part of last season was pretty, not mid, but like low stakes, you know? It didn't really start like really like jumping off until we like switch gears to the villains and like saw like the Meta Liberation Army and all that and the League of Villains clash. Like that was very exciting, but the whole first half of last season was like literally just like exams between class 1A and 1B, which it was great to see their quirks and all, but it just the stakes were gone, whereas the stakes are way the fuck up now. So very excited to see episode 4. Yeah, I'll go and watch it this weekend and I'll come back with y'all with my thoughts for the next week. And that is My Hero Academia. Let's switch gears over to The Handmaid's Tale. Let's talk about The Handmaid's Tale, y'all. So we got episode 7, where we last left off. Luke was released from those guys that had captured Luke and June. And Serena arrives with that guy Enzo, I think his name, to presumably kill June. However, what Serena does instead, she takes his gun, shoots Enzo, and then forces June in the car, and they drive off as she begins being in labor. So basically, this whole first part of the episode was around her being in labor and June and trying to figure out, well, number one, June trying to like decide whether or not she's just gonna leave her ass, and number two, where the hell can she have this baby, because she's about to have a fucking baby. June kept saying fuck every 2 seconds, which I found really funny, because she says fuck a lot, but I mean not that much. Like she very much was like in every single seconds like, what the fuck are we doing, where the fuck do you think, what the fuck, like all kinds of fucks, and I thought that was pretty funny. Also, of course, course, Serena just becomes in labor at this moment because drama. To be honest, if June was smart, she'd leave Serena's ass there. You know, she'd get the gun, and she did get the gun. She would take the gun from Serena because she's in labor, so she's not paying attention. Force her out of the fucking car and drive off. I know that's a little heartless. That's a little heartless. You're probably saying, "Oh, but Gozi, that's a pregnant woman. Gozi, Gozi." Okay, sure, that's a pregnant woman, but that's Serena Waterford. She has done some really fucked up shit. And quite frankly, she doesn't deserve an ounce of kindness. Her baby kind of does. So I guess I can see baby's innocent. So do it for the baby, but don't be doing it for her because she don't fucking deserve it. I'm just saying. Um, this episode had a series of flashbacks to long before the events of the show, where Serena takes June to another wife's house because the wife's handmaid is in labor, about to have their baby, and they do that weird ritual where the wife like gets behind her and acts like she's the one in labor, even though there's a real woman that's right in front of her actually in labor. It's a really fucking weird sequence, and we've seen it like 4 times in the show. It's never gonna not be weird. And it's interesting. So basically how that storyline goes, and we flash back to it a few times to see the end of it. The handmaid that's in labor doesn't the baby can't won't come out. I guess it's just taking too long. So then they send doctors in to perform a C-section to save the baby. And they don't give a fuck what happens to the handmaid. She's going to bleed out. They're not going to even bother closing her up. And that's what happens. And the other handmaids are kind of forced to just sit there while it's happening. They don't watch it because it's a curtain closed, but they can see the shadow. They know what's happening, and they know that she just died. And they didn't give a fuck because in Gilead they see and then they try to say it's God's will. Do what you must. It's God's will. Because in Gilead they only see women, especially handmaids, as baby vessels. They're not people. Women aren't people. They are just fucking containers that grow babies, and that's all that they're good for. That is what Gilead thinks of women. And that's what that scene was supposed to like convey, right? And it was directly mirroring the present day scene with Serena being pregnant. It was a direct mirror to that. So that's it. Also was really nice seeing like Alma and Brianna again, because honestly, I'm still salty about how they killed those two off. They did not deserve to be killed off the show. Like, quite frankly, I like them more than June sometimes. So like, it was just really nice to see them again, even if just in a flashback, which makes me hopeful that they like will bring them back again, if that's like fair game for them to be in flashbacks. So there's a moment where where June is like actually considering like leaving, and why is June such a good person? Like I just said, if June was smart, she would just like fucking leave her. And there really is a long moment where like she's trying to help Serena, and Serena's just like, "You're gonna kill my baby, you don't want to help me." Like she like checks her cervix with her finger to like see if she can feel the baby's head, and then like Serena was just like, "You're gonna kill my baby, get the fuck away from me." So then June's just like, "Okay, fuck you then, I'll just leave." And then June's walking around trying to leave, but her conscience gets the best of her, so then she goes back. Also, like they drove the car off the road and down the side of the road into a ditch. She's trying to push the car up the ditch. I'm like, that's a 2,000-pound car. You should there's forest right behind you. Just push the car forward more into the ditch. You know, like it's like stuck in some mud, so just push it out of the mud. I don't know. It was weird that she was trying to like literally go against physics, thinking like that was gonna work. And also, she didn't wash her hands. She still has Serena's pregnant coochie juice on her finger, and she didn't wash her hands, and she was still touching stuff. Gross. But yeah, let's see what else up in here. Oh, you know what it was? Okay, I see what it was. I think June actually did eventually get the car free, and she was about to drive away. And I think she got some blood on her fingers, and she looks at her hands, and the show was like really on the nose with the whole blood on your hands trope. That was really fucking on the nose. And honestly, even like the whole like flashback to that handmaid scene was also like being like a direct mirror to the thing that's happening right now, was also a really, really on the nose. Usually the show has at least a little more nuance than that, but this time, yikes. I will say, watching June and Serena go through the birth together kind of made me a little emotional. It was actually really, really well done. It was a really raw and intimate moment, and it felt very real. Like both of those women have actually had babies in real life. Yvonne Strahovski, who plays Serena Joy, and Elizabeth Moss, who plays June. They both have had babies in real life, so they know how to act. They know how it feels. They know how to really like sell it that they're in labor and they're working together. Especially considering the last birth we saw in the show was June doing it by herself. And I think that's another reason why June decided to stay, because she had to do it by herself that once, and it sucked. And why would she put that on someone else? I think that's maybe what she was kind of thinking. But watching them go through that together, like, really actually made me a little bit emotional. But yeah, the so when the baby actually does come out, June like has like an extended moment. This is a funny moment. I don't know if this was actually even intentional because it was just a weird moment. But she pulls the baby out of her vagina, and then June's just holding the baby in her hand, looking at the baby, and then she looks up at Serena with like the most evil eyes. Like she looks like she's gonna just kill the baby right in front of her or something. She looked so evil because like Moss is constantly doing that in the show where she'll just be like staring at the camera all fucking evil and shit. Like, and she like I don't know what that was. And then eventually she just like gives the baby to her. So I'm just like, what was that moment? That was such a weird moment. What the fuck was she gonna do? I don't even know. It was such a fucking weird moment. Then there's an extended conversation where June is trying to convince Serena to go to a hospital. And the reason why Serena doesn't want to go to the hospital is because that family that she's been staying with, she's convinced they're gonna fucking take her baby, which honestly I was getting them vibes too. So fair game. Um, so she says, no, we can't go to a hospital. But June's just saying, like, dude, you're going to die. You're already getting a fever. You're going to die of fucking sepsis here. And your baby's going to die with you. You need to go to the hospital. And then Serena tries to convince June to get to, like, take the baby. Like, she's saying, oh, man, maybe this is God's will that I'm just meant to die here. And you're supposed to take my baby into the world. And that's the parallel. Do you see where I'm getting? You're picking up where I'm putting down? Like, the parallel to the Handmaid that happened, that flashback where they sacrificed the handmaid's life for in favor of the baby when they didn't have to. They didn't have to kill the handmaid to get the baby, but they did because in Gilead it's believed that women are pointless and the baby's the important part. So whatever happens to the woman, who the fuck cares? And that's what Serena is convinced of, and so that's why she's thinking, oh man, I'll just die and take the baby. Whereas June's just like, okay, well, no. Like that was kind of a realization moment for June. She was just like, this is what you thought of us, isn't it? Like you don't think we matter. Guess what, bitch? We did matter and we do matter. And you know what? Even you matter right now. You matter. And like that's the idea, like the other idea that Gilead is the Gilead sees children as not belonging to the woman that birthed them. Like they think that children, if the children aren't in a quote unfit home, like to their definition, which is very loose, wishy-washy definition, that they should just be that the baby just belongs to the state and the state can just send the baby wherever. And that's what Gilead thinks, and that's what Serena kind of thought, and that's why she was trying to give June her baby. But June told her, you are the only person in that world that baby knows. In this big world, that baby only knows your smell, that baby only knows your voice, that baby only knows your touch. That baby belongs to you and nobody else. And because this is not Gilead. I am not Gilead. We are people. That was a really, really, really great speech that came from June. And it's funny because I've been like kind of very anti-June like this whole season, but this was like kind of the first moment where I kind of saw June come back a little bit. Like the June that we knew back in the day, that fought, you know. It was no rage, only calm. And even at the end of her speech, she takes Serena's chin in her hand and she says, "Do you understand me?" And she says it says it with kindness. The last time she said that to Serena was a very rage-filled moment because that was the first time she'd seen Serena since she escaped to Canada. Um, and she basically told Serena at that moment a long time ago that God gave you this baby so that it can be taken away from you. Which, ooh, very interesting foreshadowing. We'll get into that in a minute. But it was a really cool growth moment that we saw with June in that she finally seems to be letting that rage go. We saw her at the beginning of the season. Remember, the beginning of the season, she had just gotten done ripping Fred apart with her bare hands. and killing Fred, her and all the other former handmaids, just like ripping Fred apart. She had a lot of rage. That was the point. That was the step in her journey to overcome her trauma. That's where she was. She's at the rage part, and she had so much trouble letting that anger go, to the point where her husband and her best friend they didn't feel comfortable having even her around her baby, because she just could not let go of this anger and this rage. She wanted to fucking kill Serena. And then we saw later, when she got the chance to, she chose not to. And that was the first kind of moment where June started kind of realizing to herself. Like, she even asks her, Serena asks June in this episode, why didn't you kill me when you had the chance? And you know what June says? She says, because I didn't want to, you know? June has entered the part of her trauma recovery journey where she's accepting it. The rage is gone, and now she's moving past it. And that's the full circle we saw from June in this episode. And it's kind of making me like want to like rewatch basically every episode from the moment she gets to Canada to right now. Because seeing it, I kind of thought it was just bad writing, but I actually am now pretty convinced that it really was her trauma journey. It's her journey into recovering from the trauma that she's dealt with for almost a decade, living in Gilead and being subjugated and oppressed for that long. That was a really, really good moment. What else in here? I still thought it was a little Deus Ex Machina that when they got to the hospital, June and Luke got reunited. Considering how stupid it was for them to like go into Gilead in the first place and then immediately get captured, it's a little Deus Ex Machina that they fucking like were like, oh, Luke, June, we're back in, we're safe, we weren't killed, we're back in Canada. Like, I'm like, come on, man, that was a little bit too convenient. And also, it's really cute that June is worried about the baby. Like, June's kind of changed her mind here because her rage is gone. She's like on the path to like even forgiving Serena a little bit. She might not be there yet, but she's like finally entering a place where she could start to do that. Um, Unfortunately, Luke didn't realize this, and Luke called ICE. Luke called INS on fucking Serena, and Serena is about to get fucking deported, and her baby's getting taken away from her. The baby's going, because the baby was born in Canada. Well, technically, kind of no man's land. The baby is not a Gilead citizen, and therefore is going into Child Protective Services. And now she's getting her baby taken away, and it's a direct mirror to what all of those women felt at the beginning of Gilead when the state systematically took their children away from them. So what June told her back in season four, when she said, God gave you this baby so that it can be taken away from you, so you could feel everything you made all of those women feel. Do you understand me? That's what she said. And it fucking happened. And Luke is sitting here like, yeah, payback, bitch. And then June's sitting here like, oh shit, I didn't really want this, you know? And that's where we leave off. So it's a very interesting part of the show right now. I've previously had criticisms where I feel like the show is a little too siloed, a little too focused. I really want to see more of the macro story, like the what the larger worlds, how they see Gilead. I actually even want to see more Gilead. But I really liked this episode because it kind of finally started making sense of some of the choices that the showrunners have been making this season. And it really does make me want to kind of just rewatch the season and see if I have a new perspective, because I kind of think I do. With that, folks, that is Handmaid's Tale, and that is my vlog. Thank you guys for watching. I'm about to go live again in about 10 minutes on TikTok and on YouTube, so you guys should go over there. We're gonna play Alien Isolation, so hopefully I'll see you soon, and yeah, have a good night. Bye.